Benjamin Campbell came out with his father and brothers in 1842. So if you note, that's before the California Gold Rush. And he and his brothers and father, first they lived at Mission Santa Clara, and they eventually started a mill over in Saratoga. And William Campbell is considered the founder of Saratoga because he did that. And because they did that, they provided a valuable service to these farmers, and they actually were able to become wealthy before the whole gold rush. And then in 1852, Campbell went back to Missouri to marry his sweetheart and brought her out here with a bunch of her relatives, and he led his own wagon train out here in 1852. He ended up buying several hundred acres of land here in Campbell, and that's where they had their farm. And eventually they subdivided that, and he subdivided it with the express purpose to become a little town. He sold for $5 a little plot of land to the Southern Pacific Railroad, and that became the Campbell Depot. At first it was called Campbell's Depot, and that depot allowed the canneries to build and have a depot to ship out their fruit. And then he subdivided his land. Actually, Campbell Avenue, that was his driveway right up to his front door. And he was a strict Methodist, so he wrote in his bylaws to subdivide his property that nobody could purchase the property. It had to be a dry town. They could not have any alcohol, and that lasted through the repeal of Prohibition. So. Yeah, Campbell has 2 walking tours that people can take and learn about the buildings and what you see, and some of the old buildings you think, what is this? There is a business walking tour, which has, I think, 7 businesses. I'm not quite sure, but it has several businesses. You can walk around downtown Campbell and find out about it. And then there's a residential tour where you can walk around the residential streets and learn about some of the older homes. Like I said, some of them belong to the descendants of Campbell. Those 2 walking tours are actually free to the public, and they're at the museums. They're just 2 little pamphlets. It's a self-guided tour. Some things that people might not know about Campbell. I mentioned one with the Weeks High School that's now a community center. Teddy Roosevelt came for a visit in 1903. The supervisors, the education board of supervisors, hired a new school principal, the first high school principal. He came out from the Midwest with his family and came out here and to find that there was actually no high school. It was just a 1-room schoolhouse. So he asked the school board of supervisors, can we build a high school? You hired me to be the high school principal. And they said, well, no, we don't have enough money for that. So he actually created a campaign and wrote to Teddy Roosevelt, knowing that he was going to be coming to San Jose, asking him to come out to Campbell. And he did. For about 20 minutes he was in Campbell, and they had a groundbreaking ceremony for the new high school. And there's pictures of Benjamin Campbell and Teddy Roosevelt and the high school principal, his name was J. Fred Smith, all there at the groundbreaking ceremony. And after that, that's when the board of supervisors like, okay, I guess we'll build a high school. The Roosevelt tree, as it was called, was over there on Winchester and Campbell Avenue until the 80s, when they widened Winchester and they tore down they took down the tree, unfortunately. All that's left of the original tree is a bench that's in the museum. It's called, obviously, the Roosevelt bench. I believe that they found a woman from the garden club found the stump of the Roosevelt tree. The garden club was so upset that the Roosevelt tree was removed. She pulled the garden stump out of the dumpster and replanted it in Visona Park, and there it stays, and it grew up again. because I guess very rarely, but sometimes a redwood could grow out of a stump again. So the McGlinchey murders, that's what McGlinchey's named for, the street McGlinchey. That's where Captain McGlinchey's property was. His wife had 2 children from a previous marriage. His stepdaughter's estranged husband came and ambushed the family one evening as they were coming back from some sort of meeting, and he murdered his wife. He murdered her maid. He murdered his mother-in-law and Captain McGlinchey and 2 or 3 ranch hands. He murdered his brother-in-law, who was only in high school. He took off with a posse after him, and he was never found. His name was James Dunham, and he was the son-in-law of Colonel McGlinchey. There was a dispute with his wife, and he came back and killed the family, maid and ranch hands, with a hatchet and a gun. Union Avenue, a lot of it belonged to the Stojanovich family, and there were orchards, and there was a drying yard. At one time in the 1940s, Campbell had the largest fruit dehydrator in the world, and there was a drying yard over there on Union. The last bit of that property belonging to the Stojanoviches, Anna Stojanovich gave it to the city of Campbell to create a park. So the Stojanovich Park is fairly new. It just opened in December of 2011.